Welcome back to FAWKS News. It's Political News Wednesday. This is our live show, not a quick take. It's a 1 hour-ish live show with a live chat. Majority of our followership comes from listeners, and we really appreciate you guys. Listen, if every single one of you listeners left us a 5-star rating and review, we will be on the charts going into 2025 without a doubt. So please, if you enjoy this free independent news coverage, then give us that 5-star rating review. We're not asking for your money. All we're asking for is a review. My name is Eric Tanzi, and I'm joined always with my producer, Josh Deadleg from Deadleg Media out in Colorado. Good morning, Josh. How are you?
Another beautiful day in paradise.
It is. Today we are covering Biden pardons everybody, especially one of the most heinous criminal. One of the I don't know. Maybe that's hyperbolic. Let me go back. I don't want to start today's political show off. That's not what Fox News is. It's not about hyperbolic, clickbaity type. It's real. But I will say, as a man with 5 children, this story offends me to the core, and it does pull emotions out of me. I think what this man did was terrible, and I think it's a representation of what a lot of elites are doing and getting away with. And then guys like me are being called conspiracy theorists over it. But here we have, it happened. It really happened. And now we have Biden pardoning this guy. What's in it for Biden? Why did he feel the need to pardon this guy? Well, it goes deeper than that. It's bigger than that. And we're going to get into it. I also want to talk about this school shooting. We have another, just another trans kind of, and listen, I'm not trying to build trans fear or anything. I don't want you to be afraid of trans people. What I want you to be afraid of are people who suffer from extreme mental illness and they're not getting the mental health that they need. And instead they are being radicalized by the mainstream, and things like this happen. And it's not covered like if we had a radicalized, mentally unstable conservative. Maybe brandishing a certain flag of some sorts, but not a trans flag. We can imagine what the mainstream media, what kind of a field day they would have with that. We want to talk about it today. And then we can finally put the drones to rest. We can finally just put that in a suitcase and stick it underneath the bed, save it for another time. But you already knew that, because if you listen to this show, I broke you that news first. And actually, this drone story is one of the bigger stories that really proves how incompetent journalism is. Journalists are. How incompetent journalists are. I was able to literally call a pilot who flies security for the president of the United States. Me, a C- student. I'm not trying to brag, Josh. I'm not trying to get on here and pat my own shoulder, give myself a pat on the back. But I've got friends in low places and high places. No pun intended. You get it? High places because he's a pilot flying. Anyway, I was able to call not only him, but other fighter pilots in the region, in the area. And I was able to put the whole drone thing, we put that to rest a week ago. And it's funny because some of you guys DM'd me and they're like, wow, Eric, you were so right about the drone thing. Well, of course, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. That's why this show is awesome, because I'm doing the work for you. So you don't have to go out there. Whatever I put out to you, you can take it to the bank, cash it in. I have the receipts for you. Show the receipts to your friends and have the argument. I will tell you when I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But when I tell you that the drones are what they are, and I say it with conviction, and I say it with, bravado, then you know that you can take it to the bank. You can share it with your friends. You don't have to DM me and say you were right. Although I do like it. It does make me feel good, Josh. I do like DMs. And then we want to finish on Canada's collapse, the collapse of Canada. Justin Trudeau, one of the guys that him and Gavin Newsom look like the stereotypical bad guy from any 90s comic book that I read as a young teen. And I'm glad to see them getting their comeuppance, because they just have a face. It's like, you could get away with it. Just take all the facts away, take all the quick facts out, and just look at him. And you're like, damn, that dude looks sinister. Well, they are sinister. They are evil people. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic or to be mean. I'm saying that they are evil people. And what they did during the COVID pandemic and what they did to Canadians during the trucker thing, they are evil people. Taking away your guns and your freedoms. They're evil people. And they're finally getting their comeuppance. 2025 might be the year. We might just call it, maybe the word of 2025 should be comeuppance. Is that one word or two words? Fact check me on that. We got a big live chat today. Armory Knights up in here. Red is in the chat. Oh, Red. Hi, all. It's good to see you, Red. Merry Christmas. I've got a book to be sending you this week, Red. It should be just in time for Christmas if I can get it there. If I can get it out tomorrow, I'm picking them up today, and I'll have them out one to you specifically, putting it in the mail, Red. So Merry fucking Christmas. Text me your address so I can send it to you. Also, I will be in Michigan. I'll be near Wyandotte, Michigan, towards the 20th, and then I will be in SHOT Show from there. So I'm headed off with Foss, PHOS Media Company. We are heading out to SHOT Show. I am now a writer for Foss, writing reels for them, writing other content for them, and helping out on their stuff. And so anyway, they're taking me to SHOT Show, and we're writing some reels for some other influencers out there, and it's going to be really exciting. So if you're in the Vegas area, or if you're in Michigan a day or two before near the Wyandotte area, I know I'll be busy, but maybe later in the evening I can grab coffee with any of you fans, or whatever. Maybe I can meet you up for breakfast or something like that. So hit me up if you're near Wyandotte, Michigan, near I think like the 17th is when I get in, the 16th to the 17th. So anyway, and then if you're in Vegas, same thing applies. Be working all day. At night, if you guys want to get up for a cup of coffee, or you want to meet up early in the morning for breakfast, let me know. And also, I want to get some BJJ rolls in there too. We got a lot to talk about in the shows today, so I can't waste a lot of time on the live chats. All I can do is say thank you and Merry Christmas. This is the final live show before Christmas. But I will probably have some quick takes coming up, maybe even as close to tomorrow, Thursday, just trying to keep up. It has been a weird news week. Some would even say it's been a slow news week. I don't think it's been slow. I think what we have going on right now, and if you're paying attention, and I hope that you are paying attention because your children's lives literally depend on this, there is a lot of distractions going on. The drones thing is 100% a distraction. Everybody's known. I've known. I knew within hours what this whole drone thing was, and I watched you all with your heads up at the sky, looking in disbelief, in this wonderment in this case, and I just sat back laughing at you. I think it's silly. I think you're silly that you've been duped by the silly media, and I can't wait to get into it. But today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com, which is not silly. And it's not too late to get your loved one the gift that keeps on giving and giving and giving. No, I'm not talking about an STD. I'm talking about the gift of a good night's sleep. That's where mental health and mental wellness starts. It's a good night's sleep. I bet you some of these mentally ill folks who go on these shooting rampage, these radicalized individuals, if they got a good night's rest and they had a good diet, like, I don't know, from factormeals.com/Wolfpack50, the world would be a safer and better place. All right, let's get into today's show. I'm ready for it. Are you ready for it, Joshua?
I'd like to say I was born ready, but I was born ready.
Very cool. All right, let's start it off. Let's go deep here. I want to just jump right into this whole Biden pardoning things. If you haven't seen the documentary, maybe you maybe you have Netflix, maybe you have Amazon. I don't know. Maybe you're into true crime. Maybe you're not. I think this is a documentary you put on for lunch. You having a lunch break. You want to take a break, maybe put the kids down for a nap, whatever. I don't know. But I want you to take a look at this. It's called Kids for Cash. Came out in 2014. And even in 2014, when I first saw the Kids for Cash story break loose, I thought, how disgusting. I was a cop at the time, and I thought, how disgusting and how despicable. But at the same time, I could see this happening in my own mental health institutions that I was dropping people off when I was a cop. I saw the same style of corruption, this for-profit individuals. And now that I'm working in child trafficking and I'm working close to child sex trafficking combatants, people who are combating child sex trafficking, and I've gotten to fly to Texas for some meetings, and I'm doing some things with some other non-government organizations. And what I've seen is literally government-sponsored kidnapping. And it's no different than this Kids for Cash. And I'm so glad that this pardon happened, because I feel like maybe the things that I'm working on with other people, some things are coming to light, and maybe we're not going to seem as like crazy as we are, because now you're having the Kids for Cash thing being brought back to light. But let me tell you something. If you are in the medical, if you're in the child protective services, if you are in anything to do with human trafficking via, whether it be Mexicans or illegal immigrants, Chinese, whatever, just human trafficking. It doesn't have to be children. Just know that there are evil men, just like Michael Conahan out there, who are taking advantage of the work that you're doing, and the government is sponsoring it and they are backing it up. One of the first shows I ever did was with Dan Holloway, and we talked about government-sponsored kidnapping as it pertains to illegal immigrants that are 18 years of age or less coming over the border and then being hidden away in these Black Rock facilities until they're 18, and they are protected by Portuguese, private Portuguese security companies on American soil, and DHS, Health and Human Services. They're all not allowed to go and inspect these places. And they are owned by foreign corporations, but they're housing hundreds and hundreds of children Mexicans that have to stay there until they're 18, and then they get sent back across the border with nobody trying to find a parent or find a next of kin. And they are charging the government hundreds of $1,000s a month to run these facilities to store basically kidnapped children. That's a real story. Now, when we first broke that story 4 or 5 years ago, people thought that was hyperbolic. That was crazy. There's no way that can be true. But let me tell you what, it is true. And there are hospitals in every single state. Pay attention. This is happening. And if you feel called from God, or you feel like you're in a position where you can do something and God is knocking at your heart, I encourage you to do something, because not to act is to act. And some of us, and I preach about this in law enforcement all the time, some of us get into law enforcement and we're looking for that call, that calling. We're looking for that moment of truth, that moment to prove ourselves, whether it be through fear or through gunfire or the crucible, whatever it is. Right? To get the Marines, you have to go through the crucible. To become a Cab Scout, you have to go through the spur ride. To become a Green Beret, you have to go through selection. And the Ranger, or RASP, or whatever they call it now, the Ranger Indoctrination Program, RIP, RASP, whatever they call it now. Right? Everybody wants to have that crucible that they go through to prove themselves. But sometimes the call is simply changing somebody's tires on the side of the road. Sometimes the calling is taking 10 minutes or 15 minutes to plead with a mentally ill woman and to let your ego go so that you don't blast her when she goes over and grabs the hot boiling pot of water. Sometimes the call that the position you've been put in is simply that, and it's nothing more. And we ignore that. And so I say that because this story, if you're in a position to where it can knock on your heart, I hope that it knocks on your heart, and I hope that you act on it and you make sure that it's not happening. And if it is happening, we do something about it. There are hospitals that will take trafficked victims. I worked on this in Texas with Mercury One and with Jaco Booyan's Ministries. It was with Jaco Booyan's Ministries, which is partnered up with Mercury One in Glen Beck. And this is where I first learned of this, and it ties into this Biden pardon story, because it's the same thing. And now this is happening now. This was the Biden pardoning guy happened in 2008, 2009, but still happening today. So there are children whose maybe it's the mother has a boyfriend, and this boyfriend is trafficking or prostituting or just simply sexually assaulting the child. And he goes to prison. The boyfriend gets caught and goes to prison. And then the child, boy or girl, goes to the hospital to be checked out because they've been raped or diddled or penetrated or whatever heinous shit that they had to endure. Children, innocent children. And they go to this hospital. Well, mom's a crackhead and doesn't have a system in place to help her get back on her feet. And so she leaves the child at the hospital and doesn't check the child out. And the hospital sees dollar signs with this. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Instead of seeing something that we need to get boots on the ground, we need to get this solved. We need to get this child in a foster care system. We need to get this child in some kind of system. Instead, what the hospital does is they now put it on Medicaid or Medicare insurance, and they send them up to a floor. Let's just say it's a 7th floor of your hospital. And the kids will sit up there until the mother decides one day. And there are kids that have been sitting up there for over a year. They get no school. They get no outside time. What I learned in Texas was that they were the child sex therapist that found this and whistleblowed on us. They removed her from the hospital. She's no longer doing the Lord's service of giving therapy to sexually traumatized children, because she exposed that why are there children on a floor that are getting zero access to any kind of service, and they're just stuck up here waiting for somebody, but the hospital's making $400 to $700 a day per child. Plus, it's the grants that they get for having people in those bays. Hey, we've got 13 bays on the 7th floor and they've been full for a year. We need a bigger bay. We need more rooms. We need more grant money to do with this. And then the money's being pocketed. And if you think that sounds crazy, who could be that evil to leave kids? I'll tell you, here we go. Let's get into the story. So bring up this page for me. It's from the editorial board. It's Pittsburgh Post-Gazette editorial board. There we go, right there. So and guys, this is a documentary. You can go watch the whole documentary, but now it's happening in real time. The commutation of the prison sentence for former Luzerne County Judge Michael Conahan by President Joe Biden is a disgraceful act that dishonors the children and families victimized by the judge and his accomplice Mark Civiella during the notorious Kids for Cash scandal 2 decades ago. Now you can read this because I like to bring receipts, so you can read this on your own. This is the Pittsburgh Gazette. We'll put the link in the show notes for today. But I just want to tell you Big Bird Cookie Monster style without having to read it verbatim. But what happened here was that you had a judge, 2 judges, and you had a private for-profit juvenile facility. You had a nonprofit juvenile facility that was flailing. There wasn't any money coming in. Do you know why there wasn't any money coming in, Josh? Do you know why a juvenile system wasn't making any money in this small little county of Pittsburgh? Of Pennsylvania, a Luzerne County. Do you know why it was flailing, Josh? It was flailing because there wasn't any use. Because we didn't have a lot of juveniles that were committing crimes heinous enough to be going to a juvenile out of home service. They didn't need that. Wow.
So they didn't qualify.
Well, we can fix that. You elect me as the judge. Big pocket donor over here, big pocket donor here, and I will make sure that we get you what you need for your juvenile detention center. And so over the course of a few years and making a grand old profit of nearly $3 million, this judge was sentencing low nonviolent criminal offenses, misdemeanor offenses, and giving them maximum juvenile sentences and getting kickbacks. It was called Kids for Cash. This happened between 2002 and 2009. The Kids for Cash scandal was one of the most appalling examples of judicial corruption, not just in Pennsylvania's history, but in American history. No, I just think that's the one that got caught. That's the one that was small enough to get caught. See, the ones that I'm talking about haven't even been caught yet. I think it's in every single hospital, and I think it's in every single city. I think that this is part of the playbook. I learned all about this in Texas, and I really, truly believe. And then you have people who want to save their own jobs and want to save their own asses. And so they're going to act like they don't know, or they're going to be like, surely, listen, I work for Child Protective Services. This isn't happening. And they say it with conviction, and they say it with passion because they believe in what they work for. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I've been doing some research. I've been talking to a lot of people. There's a lot of people who disagree with you. No. See, this is why they're disagreeing. But here's the thing is that they are not stepping outside of the box and then taking a look at it and then giving me an argument. They're just saying right there in the moment with no research done, without questioning or without even wanting to know who I've talked to, they're already defending it, which means that they're defending it on the basis of passion and emotion and on the basis of fact. Now, I hope to God this isn't happening. I pray that it's not. But I think somebody smarter than me should be trying to look further into those cases. And they're saying, no, I'm looking into it in North Carolina, but so are several other organizations that I'm working with or alongside of, and I'm partnering with them. And they're doing a lot of the legwork. I'm just doing a little bit of the journalism and the documentation and telling the story. But I refuse to write a story that isn't true or doesn't exist. So this is going to be a long and tedious process. Let me go further on here. Judge Conahan and Civiella conspired to close Luzerne County's public facility for juvenile offenders in favor of a private for-profit detention center. For doing so, the judge received hundreds of thousands of dollars in kickbacks from the company PA Childcare. This is happening all over the country, guys, with child traffic victims, sex victims, juvenile victims. People are taking advantage of our children every single day. But the venality of the two judges did not end there. Once the for-profit juvenile jail was built, they continued to take kickbacks, ultimately approaching $3 million for sentencing children to long stays at the facility for offenses as minor as jaywalking or trespassing. These decisions traumatized hundreds of young people and destroyed numerous families for cash to fund the two men's lifestyles. Conahan and Sevilla coldly and strategically violated the trust placed in them by the public to enrich themselves at the expense of vulnerable children. Their crimes were calculated and cruel, far beyond the vast majority of offenses adjudicated by the justice system. In 2009, a federal court sentenced Conahan to more than 17 years in prison and Sevilla 28 years in prison. Now, both of these guys were let out of prison during COVID, and they never went back, as I've read on. Oh, they're minor offenses, and for the sake of COVID and the sake of security, let's put these fucking dirtbags. Now, I can't think of a more vile. Listen, when you start messing with the children, when you start taking the freedoms of children away, when you start taking children away from their parents, there's nothing more vile than that. Imagine, if you will, for a moment, that your child gets caught on a dirt bike and he's pulling his buddy on a skateboard with a ski rope. And you're whipping through the back roads and through some backwoods neighborhoods. And this is in the early 2000s when kids still did shit like that and they didn't do it on an iPad. And a cop comes around the corner and sees this motorcycle on a main road towing a person on the skateboard. And so the person on the dirt bike slams on the brakes without any warning. And of course, the skateboard doesn't have a way of stopping itself, and it plows into the hood of the cop car because the cop car is taking up the other lane. And the cop gets out. And I'm sure in this moment, this is a true story that happened in my life. It happened with me and a man named Joshua McKenney. And the cop got out and was speechless as I laid on the side of the road after just bouncing off the hood of the cop car, off of his brush guarded bumper. And the cop didn't know what to say. And he immediately takes us both to my house. My dad is working in the garden at the time. And the cop comes up and he says, "Are you Mr. Darwin Tansey?" My dad says, "Yes." And he says, "Do you know where your son has been all day?" And he says, "Well, he's been out riding his dirt bike." He says, "Were you aware that his friend was driving his dirt bike and towing him on a skateboard?" And my dad said, "Sounds on brand." And then he goes on to say that I ran into the cop car, yada, yada, yada. And so my dad is like, "Well, officer, I can tell you right now that you can take my son with you if you want, but if you leave him here, I am going to punish them way harder and way more painful and way more diabolical than you could ever imagine them being punished in your system." The cop went back to the cop car and opened the door, and he said, "I was going to just drop you off at home, but now I'm afraid to drop you off at home. Is your dad going to hurt you?" I said, no, I'm not afraid of my dad. Although I know I am going to be punished severely for this. But no, my dad's not going to beat me or anything like that. And so the cop wrote some kind of a citation. I was too young to remember what it was, but the threat was that I was not going to get my license until I was 18. I was 14 at the time, and I was going to be not allowed to get my license until I was 18. And on my birthday, some lawman, I don't know that it was a judge, a DA, a lawyer, like I said, I can't remember. And they said that they were, for my birthday, going to get rid of all of that. And I was, in fact, going to be able to go and get my learner's permit that week as a 15-year-old, kind of like a congratulations way to not get in any more trouble. But imagine for a second if those same two kids were in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, and they were scooped up and sent to a juvenile detention facility for a long period of time. Do you know what that would have done? I would not have joined the military. I would have not have married the woman I have. I would not have the 5 kids that I had today. If I would have went to the juvenile system, my parents would have I can't imagine what my dad would have done. I mean, he would have murdered me. I mean, my dad was the type of guy that wasn't allowed to have ADHD. When the ADHD phenomena came around, my dad was like, "Oh, you can't pay attention? Don't worry. He doesn't need Ritalin. You'll pay attention or I'll beat the shit out of you. How about that?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't pay attention. I will pay attention." So I didn't, that's the way my dad ruled the roost. Just borderline on the abusive side. Like he just towed that gray area of like beating my ass, but doing it in a way that I deserved it, but also like not crossing over to where it was too far. It wasn't fun for him. And listen, made me the man I am today. Don't parent my kids that way. But I took a version of that. I digress. What I'm saying here is that this man took away young children, young teenagers, freedoms away. And at one point, one of these young children committed suicide. And there's a famous clip going around TikToks and Instagrams right now of the woman yelling out, "You're a scumbag. My son is dead because of you. You're a scumbag." Now, listen, you take my children away for something minor like that, we're going to war. I'm going to end your bloodline.
Think of how much trust in that community is gone. Because you got to think, it's not one judge, it's two. Those are the people that you go, those are the elected officials. Those are the representation. Those are supposed to be the arbiters of truth. And instead of doing that, they were sending juveniles to detention centers for kickbacks. How is that not slavery? So, I mean,
you're ruining kids' lives for kickbacks, for money.
But it's cool, man. We're going to pardon that. It's all right.
Yeah, Bone Cold Fleas says, didn't Dan Holloway speak about this during the early years of FTS with you and Mike? Yeah, I brought that up at the beginning of the show, Bones Cold. I said one of the first shows I ever did with Dan Holloway was one of the first podcasts I ever did was with Dan Holloway, and it was a government-sponsored kidnapping. And it was BlackRock and all those things. So yeah, I brought that up. So now we have.
It's not just that these kids are the victim. These are judges. These are positions of power. They abuse the position of power. They've used their position of authority, not once, not over and over and over again. And the victims here are children, defenseless children. So if you did have families that were involved and your parents weren't crackheads and your dad was in the picture and you had mom and dad and you just had the situation like Eric was describing, and this judge put you away for a long, long time for doing something maybe you didn't even do. Now you got the families who are the families going to turn to? Hey, judge, the judge locked my kids up. Well, yeah, he locked your kids up. I'm the other judge that would lock your kids up, but I'd lock your kids up too.
Well, it goes more than that, because once you start locking these kids up, now parents are losing their jobs because they're trying to figure out how to do this and they're having to pay lawyers. I mean, you're talking about you're talking about a very long period of time that it's affecting a family.
Community.
The stress and everything else. So anyway, Biden pardons this guy. No longer getting out in 2034. Biden just gave him a full pardon. So the two biggest, I mean, this is, if that's not scuzzy enough, we also have this Biden pardoning Chinese spies pedophiles. But PolitiFact would have to let you know that is a false. That fact checked, he did not pardon any Chinese. But if you look deeper into it, well, then where did this story come from? And now PolitiFact likes to make fun of, well, it was spreading around the internet and the misinformation was going viral quicker than anybody could pick it up. And Twitter and X and Instagram and TikTok was these stories of Chinese pedophiles with 47,000 pornographic images were pardoned by Biden. And they make you think that you're nuts. Well, so where did the story come from? Doesn't take a real journalist. It could take a C- student like myself to just do some very quick fact checking to figure out where it all came from. PolitiFact is correct. It is false. But you know what the truth of it is? Is that Biden did a prisoner swap. While he pardoned 1,500 other people, Biden did a prisoner swap with Chinese spies who had 47,000 child sex images on his computer. Thank you, PolitiFact, for making me sound like a moron for 4 paragraphs of information and fact checking, not to mention that the root of the whole thing is actually true. You're just using semantics. You're just playing the word game here. It should say, fact check, Biden did a prisoner swap for pedophiles, not trying to make everybody else look like not gaslighting everybody into making you look like you're believing misinformation, disinformation. Speaking of misinformation, disinformation, North Carolina's Health and Human Services just put out 103 deaths from Hurricane Helene. That's all. It was 103, guys. 103 deaths. Ignore what anybody else.
Completely wiped.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just 103, Josh. You know, in COVID, if you shot yourself in the fucking brain with a 410 shotgun, you were COVID death. If you fell out of an aircraft in a parachuting accident, it was because you had COVID and it was a COVID death. But if you die by being pinned up against your house by a car while all your neighbors try to move said car off of your body, you just drowned to death in a mudslide or something. But it wasn't from Hurricane Helene. Fuck out of here. This is what's driving me crazy. And this is why independent media needs you. And you need independent media. And if you want to see us be successful in the way that we present you the news, I urge you to please, one, hit the like and subscribe button and the ring-a-ding-ding notify bell, but do it on our audio platform. Go to our audio platform and give us that 5-star rating review. It's all we ask. It's what we want for Christmas. That's all we want. We want you to tune in. You want to find hyperbolic media information, go to TMZ or go to Fox News, go to NBC. If you want real good news sources that are fun and that you can trust and you can believe in, check out The Bar's Open with Beth and Greg. I see Greg is in the chats today. Go and check out other podcasts that are independent, that do independent journalism. Support our sponsors like GhostBed and FactorMeals.com. By the way, Factor Meals giving out chef-prepared, fresh, never frozen meals that are delivered right to your door. You want to go protein heavy and get swole, Papa Swolio like me? Go ahead, get that protein heavy. You want to get lean and mean like Joshua? Hit that calorie conscious. You want to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Go for it. Do all 3 meals delivered right to your door. You want to do just breakfast and lunch? Maybe you're a shake guy in the morning. You just want to slam some shake. We want to slam a fruit smoothie. They've got those. They got smoothies. They've got coffees. They've got everything for breakfast. They got eggs and bacon, all the stuff. All you got to do is microwave most of this stuff for 2 minutes or less. And doesn't matter if you have a peasant microwave or not. And you've got a meal that is quality, it's healthy, and it's backed by science. You'll feel good. You'll feel better. You'll look better. Get 2025. Get off to a good start in 2025. And these are gifts that you can get people that they can continue to use all year round. It's not just you open it and you're done. You open a ghost bed. That's something you get to enjoy for years and years and years and years. I think that my ghost bed pillow will probably be my pillow until the day I die. It's like an $80 pillow, but it is the most well-built, sturdy, just badass pillow on the planet Earth. And I'll probably never have to buy another pillow for the rest of my life. Same with my ghost bed. I'll never sleep on anything else. Trust the science. Folk around and find out says. All right, let's get into the next story here. What do we know about the school shooter? Let's take I really want to get in before we go to the school shooter and then we go to this Canadian thing. Let me just put the drone thing to rest one more time. Not to beat the dead horse, but let me beat a dead horse. I told you guys what this was. I told you that I talked to a pilot who flies for the president. He literally protects the president in the air. It is his job in life. I also talked to some Coast Guardies who are in New Jersey. I talked to Coast Guardies in Philadelphia, where this Iranian mothership, was in proximity of. Okay. I literally called people and talked to them on the phone, and this was not classified information. I showed you the NOTAMs, the notice to airmen, that shows that these drones have been flying in that airspace from those exact times, flying under FAA regulations with green and red lights and the whole 9 yards. I showed you the one image that the news put out, and I showed you that my buddy could show you exactly which helicopter. It was a UH-60, and it was in the NOTAM. And here we have the news saying, oh, it's blah, 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 this time and this time of night. And it looks like we have a drone. It looks like it's the size of a car. He shows the NOTAM, and the NOTAM has a UH-60 flying in that area, a Black Hawk, a military Black Hawk. It wasn't even a fucking drone. And I told you guys this. I told you this over a week ago. So now the government has come out and said, guys, it's us. It's the Air Force. It's the Air Force testing our drone stuff, working on. I also found out this week. Now the military's not saying this; they're saying it in a lot more garbled, kind of mixed communication, not mixed. They're mixing up the words so it confuses you. But there are war games happening because in 2026 we are hosting a lot of massive events in the United States to include the World Cup. And we are going to a drone style surveillance system during those big events that are happening here. Was it Los Angeles? Is it? It's the Olympics? Is it the Olympics too?
I think Olympics are coming up too.
So they're using these drones to pinpoint, suitcase bombs. Also, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I learned this is that the Coast Guard is having drones to do all of their search. Instead of having helicopters search when a plane goes down, the drones will go out and fly in the mixed weather. And these drones can pick out a cork bobbing in the ocean. And these drones will pick up the bodies. It will put them on camera. And then the rescue pilots will fly to the drones, which will have found the missing people. It's incredible technology that they are rolling out and implementing on the East Coast and West Coast right now. So there's a lot of things that are being used for these drones, but here's the thing, it's the NOTAMs. So these drones things, if you were to listen to me and listen to independent other news sources like Mike Glover did something very similar to I did it before him. Not having any beef with Mike Glover. I just think some people sent me this and they're like, look what Mike Glover said. And I'm like, you fool. I said that a week ago. Don't tell me. You should have listened to me. No, but in all seriousness, because you didn't listen, your heads were up in the sky and you were missing out on some of the really big news. Instead of saying, why is the distraction? What's going on? You were fixated on these drones and you were coming up with your own speculations and your stories and your Iranian motherships and your Russians and why is the government doing this? When if you just listened to me, you would have known 2 weeks ago that this is military training and it's for good purpose. And the military doesn't have to tell you what that's for. But the military does have a responsibility of not allowing you as a free American to be afraid of something. And so when there is something, when they have been caught, when the veil has been lifted, they should say, guys, it's military training. They should put you at ease. Instead, they just play that, I don't have to tell you. Which builds distrust in the government, which builds this anxiety amongst us, which leads to conspiracy theories. And that's not right either. Okay, that's not right either. Now, I'd also like to point out that it's proven now that we have Black Hawks that are stealth Black Hawk helicopters. You don't think that we don't have stealth drones that don't have blinking lights and shit that you've never seen before? So, you know what I mean? Come on, guys. Come on. Start, instead of playing into what the media wants you to do, which is put your head up to the sky and wonder in amazement of what these drones are. Instead, you should be looking at who is Biden pardoning? What is going on in politics? What bills are being signed? Why is Canada's prime minister, vice prime minister stepping down? Why is Justin Trudeau, being called, he will be stepping down in the next week, if not today. And it's not massive mainstream media. And I say massive is like, it's just like a little paragraph because we're going to go back to the drone thing and get you to look right back up in the air of the drone thing. But we're not going to talk about all the other stuff that's going on. Why is LeBron James leaving the Lakers and all this other big news that has a lot more nefarious connotations behind it than you looking up at fucking space aliens and buying into some dumb bullshit. Bones Cold Fleas Austin 316 says, best part of waking up is Black Rifle coffee in your cup. I don't know if you should use that in an ad, though. I think it might have been used before. Maybe you went with a little ditty like, best part of waking up is Black Rifle coffee in your cup. I will say, though, Black Rifle coffee does just get me rolling in the morning. Gets me randy in the morning. I'm going to have some Black Rifle coffee today, actually. Maybe some Salvation coffee today too.
Here's something else to think about too. Like for the past 4 years, we've been talking about, hey, the Bidens have been selling us out to the Chinese government. The Bidens have been selling us out to the Chinese government. The Bidens have, we've been selling it over and over and over again. 2 of these 3 people that were exchanged in this prisoner swap were convicted of being spies during Biden's presidency. One was in 21 and one was just last year in 2023. Why? Why are we getting we've been saying, hey, you've been selling us out, and the people that you've been selling us out to get convicted of selling us out, and then you're just going to give them up? Then all the writings on the wall, we're gonna just let my son off on everything and anything and everything. We're not gonna every pardon that's happened before. We're
How much coke do you think he did in that 48-hour period of Because, he pardoned him like 48 hours into the future. I mean, I bet you he was just running all sorts of blow off of some Canadian black girl's tits.
How do you not walk into a Porsche dealership and just go, this is all mine now? And they go, well, no, it's not. This is called theft. I'm like, no, my dad's the president. He pardoned me. It's all mine. Get out.
Yeah.
Like, what does that do? Like, think about this, that for this just kid for cash case, you're a family of the victims. The president just said, hey, it's cool.
Dude, I'm telling you, there would be another CEO incident. If one of my kids was in, especially that woman that says like that her son committed suicide after going to juvie for a small misdemeanor offense, and if I truly believed that, I mean, yeah, there would be like another, but I wouldn't be going to McDonald's and getting a McRib afterwards. You'd find me like in a Ruth's Chris getting like a tomahawk steak before I dine and dash. That would be great. Like, the walls are caving in and you go to Ruth's Chris and you get like that fucking $200 tomahawk steak only to be like like you get damn near done with it. And then they come and arrest you. And you're like, oh, sorry. I'm going to jail, and you get a free steak on the way out. I'm for it. So now, this is why it's important for you to share the show. This is a brand new show. We want this show to grow. We need this show to grow, and we need people like you guys to share us on your Facebook. Share this hit the share button from YouTube and share this thing. That's how we grow on YouTube. But more importantly, on our audio, give us those 5-star rating and reviews. They're really, really, really important to us. Next on this list, before we put this whole thing to rest, is let's talk about Canada quickly. Let's talk about what's going on with Trudeau. We know that 3 weeks ago, Trudeau had a meeting with Donald Trump, and it didn't go very well. And we know that the big media spin out of this was that Trump was trying to convince Trudeau to become the 51st state. But there was much more to that meeting than that. And again, that was the media trying to trick you and make things hyperbolic. But what was going on were the tariffs. Canada's scared to death. We've been subsidizing Canada for a long time. Now, Canada does have fuel. Ontario does have electricity. Energy that they distribute and we take. But there's a lot of other things that we have energy as well, that we don't have to tap into Canada for their energy. But we tap into that because we're trying to be nice to Canada. And the way that Trudeau's been acting, a little tit for tat, a little brotherly love, a little, hey, brother Canadian. You know what I mean? Let's trade. Let's be friends. You know what I mean? Listen, at the end of the day, I don't know why you Canadians don't want to be Americans. You love it. You would fucking love it. Waking up every day and just being like, USA, USA. All the great movies.
Die Hard.
Come on. Why wouldn't you want to be one of us? There's no Americans, like no real Americans that are like, I want to be Canadian. And they go, the only time Americans want to be Canadian is when they don't get the vote that they want. Oh, I'm going to move to Canada. But it's kind of like a secondary option. Like nobody's like, I really want to. But there are a lot of Canadians that are like, fuck, man, I wish I was American. God, I wish I was American. You know what I mean? Same goes with a lot of countries. You'll never hear an American be like, man, I wish I was French. I really wish I was Ugandan. You know, so I just wake up and I wish that I was Ugandan. No. But you know how many Ugandans wish they were Americans? All of them. Fucking all of them. So now we have this power collapse going on in Canada. And it's getting serious. And I would love to know, British Columbia powers California. Yeah, but you don't think Alaska could power California if we really wanted it to? You know what I mean? Like there's a whole pipeline out west too that we could do whatever we want with. I mean, I think we got enough shit off of the Texas coast to fuel the entire fucking globe if we wanted to. But I get it. And listen, we love that. We think that is important, that we do get some energy from California, from Canada, but it's not enough for Canada to hold it over our head and being like, this is all that's literally the only pawn you have on the chessboard is, well, we're going to take away your energy. If you start tariffing us, if you start subsidizing, we're going to punish you and your gas is going to go up $1. That's fine. Our gas will go up $1. Your fucking eggs will go up $10. Your milk is going to go up $15. Now that's obviously hyperbolic, but it's so bad and so evident that liberal MPs, members of parliament, are saying things like this.
Is living in a false reality. He's delusional if he thinks we can continue like this.
Hold on. You might think, well, he could be talking about Trump. He's not. He's literally talking about Trudeau. This is something you thought 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they would be saying about Trump. They're not. He is saying this. Wayne Long is saying this about Trudeau.
Is living in a false reality. He's delusional if he thinks we can continue like this.
I've heard from countless constituents who want to see change of prime ministers, but don't want to see Pierre Poilievre become that prime minister, to become that change.
There's no shortage of talent and people that could absolutely do the job without the baggage of the prime minister.
The future of the Liberal Party in the next election is not going to be bright if he leads us there, because he is going to be the ballot issue.
The prime minister just doesn't have the confidence of the Canadian people. Then the conclusion is really easy to come to, that the prime minister should resign and somebody new should take the party and the country forward.
Supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards.
So I want to go into this video because you have a guy like Trudeau. Somebody says, why can't we all get along? Well, we can't get along because Trudeau is a sinister, yes, Bone Cold says it the best. Trudeau, Fidel Castro's bastard child. This is literally a radicalized socialist, communist, whatever you want to call him. People debate it back and forth. Now I sound like Jean-Pierre, Luc Pierre, whatever, from the White House. But when your prime minister is calling our entire country racist or sexist because on who we vote for, it shows you how detached this guy really is. If you don't believe me.
And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
And you will always have some guy ally inside of you.
Question real quick. So does that mean he's stepping down so there can be the first women president for Canada? Is that happening?
Well, the vice prime minister, and listen, some of you Canadians would probably have a better view on this, but his vice, and she is the prime minister of finances. She just stepped down and resigned. She's like, yo, I'm out. None of this is good. None of the decisions that you're making are good right now. I think we could all get along. Tyler, us as Americans think that you, and I assume that Tyler S is Canadian. We love our Canadian brothers. We really do. Like, we speak highly of you behind your back. We really do. We think that all the shit that you guys got now in, Western Canada, Alberta, and we think it's cool. Like, we even kind of think your Mounties look cool. You know what I'm saying? Right? They're called Mounties. Mm-hmm. We like the way you talk. Take off, eh? You don't know what you're talking about. We all love that. We love everything about you. What we don't like is seeing you guys being oppressed by some comic book thug. That you guys are being controlled by basically France and one little French-speaking region of your country that is making the decisions for all the real men and women. We do have similar histories together, and we've had a very long, decades-long, centuries-long relationship with Canada. I don't think anybody wants to see that go away. We did the same shit to the Indians that you guys did. You know what I mean? Put them in government schools and, kidnap them and take their land. Listen, we're like the same. But I think it would be cool if you guys became Americans. What do you think, Tyler? Would you, if you had the option to vote, because that's what we do things here in America, we vote on. If there was a vote that says we'll wrap you guys up into America's 51st state, would you vote yay or nay?
I'll boil it down to, I think it's a way, way more complex thing than what I'm about to explain, but I'll boil it down and try to make it simple. Dad's coming home and he's checking the bills at the end of the month, and we're not paying 9 Netflix accounts. There's no reason for it. We don't need 30 Hulu accounts. There's no reason to have 800 accounts going to Amazon. So the new president's coming in and he's bringing Elon Musk and he's bringing Vivek and he's bringing in, and he's looking at the tax situation. He's like, wait, Canada, we're paying all this Canada. Canada needs to pay their share. We need to tariff them. We're doing the same thing to Mexico. So it's not just a Canada thing. We're doing it across the board. We're looking at everybody across the globe that we deal with. I'm like, maybe we need to not take all of these taxes on our American people and put this on tariffs. Maybe we should have all of the country run on tariffs. Maybe that's not a bad thing, to put more money back into Americans' pockets. So our president is looking out for Americans. So if the media wants to go, Trudeau had this meeting with Trump and it didn't go so great. Well, it didn't go so great for Canada. It went amazing for Americans. If you're an American, that was a great meeting, because that potentially means more money back in your pocket. And when it boils down to, at the end of the day, when you take away Marxism and you take away BLM, and you take away racism and you take away cops, it comes down to money. I've said it all along, over and over and over again. You cause the problem, we create a solution. So we're trying to look at all these problems that we have, and we're trying to now look at all these problems objectively. We're looking at these issues like homelessness. We're looking at these issues like immigration. We're looking at these issues like healthcare. We're looking at these issues like everything that we look at, and we're like, maybe we should take an objective look at this. Maybe we need to not spend so much money on money for illegals. Maybe we put up a border wall and tell these countries that have these people and have these problems, those countries need to deal with their people, because we need to deal with our people. Is it the America's problems to deal with all the rest of the world's problems? Because that's what we're doing. We've opened our borders and we've invited every bit of problems that the rest of the globe has. We've invited them on their front doorstep, and then we're paying for them. And then we're running to the bank account and going, why do we have no issues? We have issues paying our bills.
Imagine if you put $100 million into Western North Carolina instead of fucking gays in the rainforest.
Exactly. So what it is dad's coming home and he's turning off the faucet. That's exactly what it comes down to. As soon as you start to turn off the faucet,
out, everybody. Hot water is out.
We got to turn the flashlights on. Hey, I want a pardon. I want a pardon. Did you get a pardon? I want a pardon. Did you get a pardon? Because they're all afraid about. They call it,
want for Christmas is pardon.
They're calling it Trump's revenge tour. Is it revenge?
Good.
If
Let's
you broke
have a revenge
the law,
tour. Biden did it. Biden had a revenge tour. Project Veritas, the fucking girl that found the diary, the Fednappers, the J6ers, let's keep going. Like, I mean, all the, yeah. So why doesn't Trump get to have a revenge tour?
I don't call it a revenge tour. And I would say, and I'm for 100% for the perp walks, because you want to restore confidence in a country. You don't restore confidence in a country when you take two judges who have just destroyed a community, destroyed the trust within the community, gutted it for financial gain on their own, and then we're just going to not hold them accountable at all and let them off completely. That's not how you restore. That's definitely not how you do it. You don't do it by selling off, things to China and then turn around and giving up Chinese spies. You don't do that. You don't give up someone who is a Chinese nationalist who is convicted of having over 47,000 images of child porn on their computer. You don't just give them away. We start holding people accountable. But the problem is they want only certain people accountable. So that you want the rules for thee and not for thee. And the problem is we're pointing that out. We're pointing that out, and we're pointing out where the money is going. And people have a problem with it.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think in the next couple of days, Trudeau steps down, unless he's trying to use Christmas as a distraction, and maybe he doesn't do it before Christmas. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want this hanging over my head for Christmas. But
here's where the distraction has been. You want to know what they're dealing with right now, Eric? They are dealing with this problem right here. We have a funding problem, and the funding has not been approved. And we called this, and Massey called this. He's called this every year that this happens. Somewhere around April or June, he's like, hey, if we don't get this bill, we don't get our funding, we're going to just kick this can down the road. And then somewhere around December, right before we go to Christmas, some senator's going to go, oh, we need to vote. You need to get this vote through. You need to get this vote through. And so what happens is you get a 1,500-page deal that tries to get pushed through. Days. You got minutes to read 1,500 pages. How long is it going to take you to read your book, Eric? It's not 1,500 pages, but it'll take me at least a day or two to read it. This is going to be funding for the next. This is funding the country. It's 1,500 pages. You don't think that there's bloat built into there? You don't think that there's money built into there that we should maybe turn that faucet off? That's what the distraction is. When we're talking about drones and we're talking about this other stuff, this is what's going on in the background. All of these parts are what's going on in the background.
Be interesting to see what happens. Listen, we want you guys to have a safe and Merry Christmas. We will be putting out minimal shows in the next week or two. But if you want to get us a Christmas gift, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Go to The Bar's Open with Beth and Greg. Give them a 5-star rating and review. Go over to One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. Give them a 5-star rating and review. But we love all of you guys. We hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. We will be back Monday night with a Kwanzaa special with myself, comedian Margaret, and Jay Durrell. We'll be talking all about Kwanzaa. And we're going to learn about Kwanzaa because even my black friends don't know what Kwanzaa is or stands for. So we decided let's all just deep dive it and have a good time with it. So that'll be pretty fun. Maybe I'll pour them some eggnog and we'll have a good night on Monday night. On Thursday, we got our sports show with Jason and John. It's going to be killer. It's a very political style, very newsworthy, fun sports show. So even if you're not really into sports, our sports show is really, really good on this network because it gives you all the kind of politics behind sports and stuff like that. So it's pretty great. The Bar is Open is live tonight, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Bar is Open live. Looks like, is that tonight? Hopefully that's tonight. I don't know.
I think so.
I think I have a meeting, but I think my meeting's at like 5:30 or 6. So I should be back by 8. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, I got to head over to jiu-jitsu and then I'm going to go pick up some bucks. So that's all exciting. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Hit the ring-a-ding bell and give us a 5-star rating and review. We'll see you guys with Beth and Greg tonight on the Bar's Open with Beth and Greg tonight, 8 p.m. I will do my best to be there in the live chats. Tyler says, I don't want to be American. I want our leaders to be fucking leaders. Trudeau's a little pushover bitch. It's a no wonder Trump walks all over him. Fair. But you really wouldn't want to be American? That's really cool. It's really cool. We have Playboy. We have Sports Illustrated. Got some cool stuff. We'd love to have you. Join our team. All right, guys. We'll see y'all on the next one. Cheers.